The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Abard, your host, and today we're going to be talking about tie-dye. And my guest is Eliza Weeks, and a stay-at-home mom. Welcome home, or welcome to the show, I should say.
Thank you.
And you're the creator and founder of tie-dye, or twist dye. Twist and dye. And you're college educated. But you decided to. You have a young. One or two children at home?
I actually have two.
Two children?
I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. He's about to be 3 in July.
All right, well, congratulations.
And thank you. He's a handful.
Yeah.
But actually, they're both pretty great kids. So.
And here's a creative way for you to stay home, maybe earn some money and educate the children and have a business on top of that.
Yes. So we started kind of earlier, the first take there.
Yeah.
What I was wanting to tell you was that I actually went to a tie-dye party, quote unquote, at the local YMCA, where I also work part-time. And when I was there, I was super excited. I had never done tie-dye in my life. And I was like, this seems like such a great idea. I want to try it. I was so excited. We went as a family. We all got our T-shirts from the local craft store. Mm-hmm. And we went there and we did, they had tables set up and they had the dye in the bottles. And they taught us, I kind of knew a little bit, okay, I think I know how to do, the basic swirl or
right.
whatever, so I'm just going to give a try for that. And so I got it just right, all perfect. I applied my dye, brought it home, and washed it out and was so completely disappointed in the process. I thought there's got to be something better than this. And that's actually what started my whole journey with tie-dye. Because I started to do research and I was like, well, this just came out so crappy, but I was so excited about it. Mm-hmm. So what do I need to do to make this better? And that's what started it. And I just launched this idea from there. So, okay, now that I've done all this research, what they did was they used RIT dye. And RIT dye is a dye that needs to be heat set. So you need to have it in hot water in order to use it. And they were using cold water, and they weren't using fiber reactive dye, which is, again, with my business, part of what I wanted to do was offer tie-dye, but offer it so that when you actually come home from your party, you have a T-shirt that's done, that's professionally dyed, essentially, for all intents and purposes,
right.
Because I use the professional grade tie-dye.
So instinctively, you know that when you go home and you have a colored fabric, that you want to put it in cold water to preserve the colors. This is, counterintuitive, obviously, to put it into hot water, right? But so it doesn't set.
Right.
Yeah.
The way fiber reactive dye works is it's actually a completely different process than, say, the RIT dyes. So there are actually kits you can buy in, say, AC Moore or Michael's, any craft store, that you can get a basic, good tie-dye out of. Mm-hmm. The difference being for me, I think, in offering the tie-dye parties aspect of it, is that I actually am providing a service that, I'm doing the setup, I'm doing the cleanup, I'm teaching the children how to do it. So that's where it's a little bit different, because I show them, not only do I use the professional grade dyes, but I also show them, how to do everything. I provide all of the materials. So, and it's really cool because with the little kids, they get gloves and they get goggles. So they look like these mad scientists in their little aprons, and it's really adorable and a lot of fun.
Now, do you go into homes that are carpeted and?
Yes, and what I do is I run a really tight ship, for one thing. So everything, I keep the dye in one spot, and when we're ready for that, that's when I bring the dye out. But basically, I put down drop cloths, plastic, whatever is needed. Usually I use some sort of backing behind the dye station so that there's no splashback, things like that.
So how many parties have you done so far?
Enough that I don't really know off the top of my head. I would say probably less than 10, but more than 5, I think, somewhere in that range.
And you're developing this whole process as you go, but with the whole parties. And
yes. Yes.
And is it designed for children? Is it designed for adults? With having a cocktail, or?
It's designed for everybody, essentially. I have a range of available products or apparel that they can use. So it ranges from T-shirts to scarves. Like this is a scarf that I tie-dyed. So I can actually teach adults how to tie-dye a scarf just like this, and they can have a very similar result because this scarf is actually pretty easy to make.
It's a light fabric too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually made out of rayon. So
you can, have you gotten creative with your designs, or are they always just a swirl?
No. So I learned everything off of YouTube, so I'm kind of self-taught.
There you
and
go.
I did a lot of research.
You can learn
to try and
anything
do it.
off of YouTube.
I know, YouTube is awesome for that. And I wouldn't say I'm like an super advanced tie-dyer. I would say I'm intermediate level. And I really just wanted to learn how to do it so that I could teach the children how to do it and stuff. And what's also really fun about it too is that they're not just learning how to tie-dye. Usually when I do a session, what I'll do is I'll start out with, I teach them, okay, there's a couple of different folding techniques, and this is how you do it, A, B, C, whatever. I usually try and keep it simple. And again, it depends on the age group. But then when we get to the actual applying the dye, it becomes color theory. So I work with the kids, and I'm like, okay, kids, so we have red, and we have yellow, and we have blue. How many colors do you think we can make out of those 3 colors? Right. And then I let them, think about it and then come up with an answer. And then I actually apply that and show them how they can do 6 different colors and what happens when those colors mix. And that is a really fun...
More of an applied science in art at the same time.
It's a fun part of the process.
Is there an age limit that you look for? Or?
The younger group is harder, for sure. The other day, it depends, again, on the age and the maturity of the child. I had my son in the studio, I think it was like Monday, I had him in my studio, and he wanted to do tie-dye because his sister was in the studio with me, and she was tie-dyeing a scarf for her teacher. And he was just adamant that he wanted to be involved. So I was like, fine, all right, I have a T-shirt, I'll get it. So I had it all tied up. That's the difference. For the little kids, I usually pre-tie everything. And then after that, they get to do the dye application. So he got his gloves on, he got his goggles, he did the whole 9 yards, and I showed him, I was like, okay, so this part is the white part right here. This is where you want to put, what color do you want to put for the heart? And we went through, and he actually did a really great job. So
you can actually make hearts and squares or different patterns as well?
Yeah, so there's lots of different shapes you can do. I try to keep it simple right now in my sort of repertoire of what I have. I do like hearts, stars, mandalas, which is when you fold and you get a concentric circle with varying pattern all around the circle. They're really beautiful. Think of like a snowflake, except it's a little bit more nuanced than that.
Sure.
Because you can add all sorts of colors and things. And then, depending on how you fold, you can get different lines and different shapes. So it's always evolving as far as I'm concerned. I'm always even learning things from the kids. My last party I had, we did pillowcases, and it was really amazing because the age group was 4 to, I'd say, I think the older kids were around 13 years old. And so one of the services that I also offer is I will take home the projects and cure them in my studio and then wash them out and provide them,
so it doesn't wreck your washing machine or
right.
a dryer?
There's a specific washout technique that I provide for everybody if they do take their projects home. And it's a hard balance. I struggle with that one, whether or not do I want them to take them home or do I not want them to take them home? because there's something really amazing, and what really drew me to this was the actual washout process. And when you get to open that garment up and see
What they created.
what you created.
Is there an
really
added
cool.
cost to you, though, to do that?
Yeah, and that's why I have priced things accordingly. And, you know, even then, I think as I get more established, I'll probably add that as an extra fee to the end, as opposed to making it part of the overall fee for the parties.
It sounds like a fun thing that you could do at schools, too. Have you approached any of the schools with some of this?
I haven't yet, but I'm really hoping to do that because I think it would be so much fun for the kids.
It's something that you could reward them with, or maybe at a nature's class or something like that, where you can bring colors together and talk about like the applied science. I know that some of the fifth graders, when they go to nature's class, they always have these little experiments that they do. They dissect things, and it's tie-dye could be just another way of exploring science and color.
It is, because it's not just science. I mean, not just color theory. It is science too, because the whole way of doing tie-dye. So it starts out, the way that I do it is you start out with a bath of soda ash. And soda ash, do you know what soda ash is? Essentially, so it's a chemical for all intents and purposes. It's commonly found in detergents. So it's usually a big part of what makes up a detergent. And what it does is it raises the pH level of the fibers, and that allows the dye to take to the fibers easier. And if you touch it, it sort of feels like slippery kind of feel to it. And that's why you wear gloves, because it dries your hands out. It can be just a mild skin irritant. It doesn't really do much. But basically what you do is you soak the garments in the soda ash for 20 minutes. And that's something I usually do. For instance, with my parties, I'll do that soaking for 20 minutes and have the garments all wrung out, all ready to go. They've already had that soak process. Then I bring them to the party, and they lay them out, and that's when they do the folding part of it. So there's that science aspect of it there. Is it just the soda ash? Okay, you're raising the pH of the garment. Now, why am I raising the pH? I'm raising the pH because once I apply that dye, it's called fiber reactive dye, because what it actually does is in the curing process is it actually chemically bonds with the fibers in the garment. So these in here, this is actually, this color is now a part of the garment. It's not something that sits on top like a paint. And that's what makes it different from, say, if you buy it from AC Moore and the RIT dye that I was talking about. Yeah, and silk screening is an application that just glides a smooth layer on top. So there's that. There's the fact that it's a chemical process. And then in the curing process, it requires 24 to 48 hours to cure. It needs to be a temperature of 70 degrees or more. Usually what I actually have done in my studio is I've created an insulated box, and I use a heated blanket, just a normal, like, twin size heated blanket that I throw in there on top of my creations, and I cure them that way. And then after that, what you do is you throw it in the wash. And when you throw it in the wash, you're actually, all the excess dye molecules are coming out. So again, there's that science part of it. They're washing away, and then you're left with the garment that's been fully dyed.
When you deliver them to the folks, are they special packaged? How do you deliver them?
I usually package them up nice. Like, so for instance, my last party, it was pillowcases, and I just rolled them up real pretty, and I had these, because I've definitely had these duds, of my creations and stuff. So I actually cut up T-shirts, and I just used that as my ribbon and tied it around the pillowcases, and it looked really great because it's all like fancy tie-dyed looking.
Yeah, and it sounds fun. Now, you also do adults?
I do. Yep.
So, have girls' night out or guys? I don't know if guys' night out. Maybe, you never know. Who knows?
I've had grown men tie-dye too. So
yeah.
Usually at their kids' birthday parties, because their wife is going, okay, it's your turn, go.
Right. Yeah. You take care of them. Well, I got a great idea. We're all going to do tie-dye. But it would sound like a fun addition of things to do, and have the ladies out. I know we've had people come on the show, and they've done art with the splash. We've had creative drinkable art.
Drinkable arts, yeah, I've heard of them.
Drinkable arts, and they actually had a party at Fulcino's Vineyard, and they they're having a little wine and doing their art. So this could be another way of expressing yourself with art. What draws to mind is probably, I don't know if you've thought about this, but when people have a spot in their carpet, they usually go to the store and they get this product called Resolve, or they get one of these spot outs.
Right.
Well, what happens is they don't realize they're oxidizing their carpet. And in the process of taking out the spot, they're also taking out some of the dye. So when the carpet cleaner comes in, they clean the carpet, all of a sudden you got this white spot. Uh-oh, what do? I wonder if that would be something that you could add your applied science to blend the colors, because the heat actually takes some of the it doesn't take the dye out, it probably sets the dye in the process, because they're usually about 220 temperature. So I've seen where people have actually taken markers, if they had a blue carpet or if they had a green carpet, and they'd use their pen to try to color in that spot. Just throwing that out there for an idea with your applied science.
Well, it would depend, because here's the trick about fiber reactive dyes. Fiber reactive dyes are only for natural fibers. So you can do, if the carpet was wool, then you could do it. If it was cotton, then you could do it. Yeah. Polyester, no. Silk, I don't know of any silk carpets, but you can do silk as well.
No,
So
they're all different types of, but those two, I've actually seen many wool carpets needing some help.
yeah, but you could certainly
it's
do that,
interesting.
like a paint application. The
Right.
trick would be then
How to blend the
rinsing
colors.
out the excess dye.
Well, that's
in
where
the
you would
end.
extract that with a carpet cleaner.
Yeah.
And just a thought. But it's interesting that, who'd have thought tie-dye for a party? Hey, come on over. We're going to have a little party, and we'll have a little tie-dye with it. And is there a limit to the size of the parties that you'd have?
When I get bigger than 20, it needs to be more like, they take turns. So I usually set up more dye stations. My last tie-dye party had 17 participants in it, and that was big. So the trick was, I had 2 tables set up, and we kind of took shifts. So half the kids folded all their pillowcases, and then they put them back in their bags to wait, and then the other half of the kids folded all their pillowcases. So it's really dependent upon surface area in some respects, because you have to have room to do that folding. And then beyond that, how many dye stations do I set up?
Do you have help?
So far, no, just me.
So how do you keep everybody entertained in between? If you got 17 people lined up at a table or doing something, are you going and instructing each individual, or are you all saying, okay, now this is how you're going to do it? Now, if you want to do something different, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. I mean, how many options do you give them?
I usually keep it a little bit simple. So the last time what I did was I actually tie-dyed all these bandanas up, and I did them in 3 basic tie-dye methods. But I did a little riff in each one of them that made it a little bit different, and then went through and explained the kids, okay, so this is a swirl, but notice how this swirl looks a little different because I used a different set of colors, or this swirl looks a little different because I changed the location of the swirl. So I kept it really simple. I did like a swirl technique for the tie-dye, and then I did a knot technique for the tie-dye, which is basically you just tie a knot in your cloth and that's it. And I did like another one where you draw a line and then you pleat along the line for that. And I just showed them, okay, so here's 3 different tie-dye techniques. And then from that, look how many different bandanas I created just from those 3 tie-dye techniques.
Now,
and then they went from there.
Have you been wowed by some of your YouTube viewing of some of the things that you can actually do with tie-dye? I'm sure you
have,
must. Yeah.
But I've also been wowed by what the students and stuff have created and what the kids have created. They inspire me continually. The last tie-dye party I did, there was this amazing pillowcase where I had shown where you can do circles. So what you do is you draw just a basic simple circle, you fold it in half, and then you pleat along that line of the circle, and then you tie it up, which I want to do. I want to actually do classes in the studio too, so I can teach some of this because it's so much fun. So I showed her how to do that, how to tie it up, and she did this beautiful tie-dye out of it. Like she did one circle, one big circle here, and one smaller circle here, and then she did a dividing line with a lighter color and then a darker color, and it just came out so amazing, and I was so inspired by
like
it
yin
that I'm
and
like,
yang, maybe,
wow,
or-
I need to make this in my, and do it at home and
Yeah.
see if I can incorporate it in some of my designs. So that's what's really cool too.
And she just did it accidentally or semi-accidentally.
Yeah, I think she had a plan when she did it, but I don't know that she knew exactly how it was going to come out when she created it.
Yeah, usually when you think of tie-dye, you get the swirl and you get the stripes, and that's, okay, I've seen it done. But you can actually get creative.
Yeah, there's
it?
so many different techniques that you can use.
Interesting.
So it is fun for that.
Is there an age limit? I mean, what's the youngest?
I'd say the youngest is definitely 2.
2?
I mean, but I would say the best age group to start with would be 4 and up.
Okay.
I tend to be a little leery. If I were to have a group of 2-year-olds, I'd be like, I don't know. As long as there's a parent that's going to be behind that child,
Sure.
helping that child out, then it's fine. And I have certainly done that. And usually what I do in those cases is I pre-tie all of the T-shirts or whatever we're using, and then they just do the dyeing part, which they love, by the way.
Now, you went to college for what?
Landscape architecture.
Okay. This is a far cry from that, but obviously you're enjoying doing this. What's your radius? Where do you go? Is it just Nashua
So
or Greater Nashua?
far, it's Nashua mostly, Hudson, and then I've gone as far as, I can't think of the name of the town, out near Lake Salem. that
Okay,
way.
so relatively.
Hampstead.
Hampstead,
That's
there you
where
go.
I was thinking of.
Now, are the dyes toxic to people at all? I mean, are they
They are
irritants?
non-toxic. You should definitely wear gloves still. They're pretty intense dyes. Again, this goes back to part of the service that I provide. When you mix the dyes up, you have to wear a respirator, not like a full-on, like the crazy, like respirator with those things, the gas mask like that. It's just like a dust mask, basically. And I wear that, and I also wear goggles when I mix the dyes up, because it's a really fine powder when it's first coming out, those pigments that you're mixing in. So that, once I mix it in, then I'm not inhaling any dust, then it's absolutely safe, like in terms of, I don't have to have a dust mask or anything like that. Is it gonna hurt the kids? No, generally not. I wear the gloves more. I've seen lots of YouTube videos where they do their tie-dye without gloves, but I'm like, well, I don't want blue fingers. So that's why
Could be a
we
trendsetter.
wear the
I mean, you got
gloves.
blue hair. So, what's your palette look like? I mean, is it just 4 different basic colors, 5 colors, 10 colors, 30, 50, 60?
So again, that's limited just by, what I want my palette to be. When I set up a party, I generally do just the rainbow color, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Sometimes I'll throw in some black, sometimes I'll throw in pink, so on and so forth. At home, I'm a lot more nuanced. I really love aquamarine, and I love to get some more, extravagant colors in there. I tend to go with blues, purples, aquamarine, black, those kinds of things. And I'm trying to branch out, because it's really hard to branch out and try and find colors that you think other people are gonna like too, as opposed to ones that just you like. So, and again, that's, learning how to vary things, not just, okay, here's purple, but there's so many different shades of purple. So you've got dark purple, and then you can go all the way up to, like a lavender or a real pale lilac color, so it's finding those things, and
Have
that's
you had any
fun.
requests like, we just painted our house and we'd like some curtains that would blend with this, or we have some pictures that have this type of. Have you had any requests like that?
Yeah, I actually have a good friend who's
something
got
that we're going to throw on the
curtains.
couch or something like that. Really? How does that work?
So she, she's a good friend of mine, so she asked me to dye her curtains for her, because I also dip dye as well. So that's not tie-dye, so it's a little different. So it's just basically like a vat dye of throwing in the color in there and doing it. But yeah, I have actually done that too.
Now you're laughing.
I'm laughing because it's not typical. It's not something that I typically do.
Sure.
And I haven't done it yet for her, so
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little guilty.
Yeah, well, it's people have different tastes, and they, obviously they've got different color schemes in their homes, and sometimes you want that scarf that maybe will just not a scarf, but something that you could just throw on top of the couch that'll kind of bring some of the colors together. It's a cool idea. Just thinking, Oh, we've only got about 3 minutes left. So how do
Wow.
people get in touch with you?
So the best way to get in touch with me is to email me directly. So it's twistanddye@gmail.com. And then also I have a Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/twistanddye.
Now, there are pictures of some of your work on that?
Yeah, actually on my Facebook page, I have lots of photos. And I usually part of the service, if I take home the projects and I wash them out, part of the service is too that I actually get to take photos of them and post them to my page, which is great because, you know, then everybody gets to see, okay, what exactly is a tie-dye party? What are they doing? And then how do they come out? So there's some really great photos on my page.
Now,
actually.
you can take your equipment to homes and do the dipping there in the homes? And
I don't do dipping at home. Everything that I do, actually, we do squirt bottles. It's so much easier because if I had open dye baths, man, that'd be a scary thing. You know, because all it takes is like one oops,
right.
and then you just have dye everywhere.
Right.
So I don't really want to
This is
risk
a very
that at
controlled
home.
environment.
Yes,
Wonderful.
I keep a tight ship.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Okay, so there's a Facebook page. Obviously, people can email you if they want to do a party. And you can go anywhere, at least as far as Salem, around
Yeah.
the Nashua area.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, good luck. I wish
Oh,
you
I
best
should
of luck.
tell you my dream too.
Tell us your dream.
My dream is actually to have a tie-dye bus, like not a school bus, but like a passenger, like half-size passenger bus, like, you know, just next door, the transit folks, like one of those buses, and convert it for mobile tie-dye station. That's my dream.
So instead of the ice cream track, here comes the tie-dye track.
That's my plan.
That's a great idea. You know, and you'll be the first one to do it. Well, wonderful. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, great. And if you want to book a party, you know where to go. Eliza Weeks with Twist and Dye. It sounds like a fun event, and if you want to try it out, you can be one of the first, and you can bring your friends along and enjoy a tie-dye. It's a great idea. Until next week, thanks for watching Gate City Chronicles. Thank you for watching Gate City Chronicles, and we want to thank our sponsor, Aardvark Cleaning. They've been a sponsor for quite a few years now, and we appreciate them being a sponsor. And if you want to be a guest on our show, contact accessnashua@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your story. Until next week, thanks for watching.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.